Hey people, Shinobi no Kami here. In this story Minato takes Obito in after he finds out about how the Uchiha clan treats him. Let us see how this will affect the timeline. So let's roll the intro. Chapter 16. 1 year had passed since Minato was made Hokage, and things were changing fast. With Tsunade and Jiraiya now married, running the village was a piece of cake for Minato. Jiraiya was staying in the leaf since he had Tsunade now, but his spy network was still up and running. All it took was a few little adjustments and it basically ran itself. Tsunade ran the hospital, which wasn't as easy as she had thought it'd be. It was ridiculous how much the quality of the medics went down when she left. Luckily, she had gotten things pretty close to up and running again. They had the talent, all they were missing was the proper teaching. Sarutobi was now giving the education system a complete overhaul. He was the most successful sensei in the leaf after all. The only thing that really needed to be changed was how everyone had to learn the same thing. What they should be doing, is testing the chakra levels, natural endurance, and various other things and making a special plan based around what the students' particular talents were. Obito and Rin had been getting closer and closer as the days went by. They had even moved on to more, exciting activities. Naturally, they were making sure that Kushina and Minato didn't know about any of this. Rin had told Obito that most of her family was infertile, hence why she didn't have any family left. The odds of Rin getting pregnant were less than 1%, plus they were still using protection. Thanks to that, Obito was much less nervous about it. Yup, things were in full bloom for the couples of the leaf. But things were about to change very quickly. 2 more months passed, and Tsunade came to Jiraiya with some rather big news. You're what? Tsunade was visibly sweating. Pregnant Jiraiya, I'm pregnant. Jiraiya wasn't sure how to respond to this, but, isn't that kind of unlikely at our age? Tsunade shrugged, unlikely, yes, impossible, no. Jiraiya, are you okay with this? Jiraiya was quiet for a while, then he started to smile, so, I'm gonna be a dad. Wow, that actually sounds, well, kinda great. I've always wanted kids, just thought that ship had sailed already. What about you, are you okay with this? Tsunade was relieved that he was happy. You know what, I'm feeling pretty much the same way you are. Something about being a mom just feels right to me. Jiraiya jumped up, well in that case, let's go spread the good word. Wonder how sensei's gonna react to this, Minato too. This is really gonna be a shock to them. Tsunade gave small laugh, sensei's gonna love it and as for Minato, well I think he's just gonna be nervous we won't be around to help him as much. Jiraiya disagreed, nah, he's just gonna be trying to keep Kushina from bouncing off the walls. Tsunade had everyone gathered around in the Namikaze living room. Alright people, we've got something major I just found out today. Kushina raised an eyebrow, alright, what? Tsunade was smiling, oh, just that certain someone is pregnant. Rin gasped, how did you know? I haven't even told Obito yet. Tsunade's eyes shot wide open, I was talking about me, what's going on with you? Rin realized she had just outed herself, well, I'm pregnant. They all heard Obito faint and hit the floor and Kushina turned to Rin, first of all, I can't believe you've been keeping this from us, and secondly, I can't believe you guys didn't use protection. Rin laughed nervously, well, we actually did. The odds of us actually having kids were only 1 in 1,234,000. We felt those were pretty safe odds. Kushina looked at Tsunade, 1 in 1,234,000, is that right? Tsunade nodded, yup, did the math myself. Minato yelled at that, wait, you knew about this and didn't tell. Tsunade shrugged, you heard the odds, even I felt that was safe bet. Besides, I didn't actually know they were having sex, I thought she just might have been curious, so I didn't jump to conclusion. Minato smacked his forehead and sighed, well, it's not like this is the end of the world at least. We're here to help the two of them. They're ninjas too, I guess. Most of us have kids when we're in our teens anyway. Obito woke up. Did someone really just say I'm gonna be a dad? Rin nodded. Well, yeah. Please don't faint again, I'm scared enough as it is. Obito stood up and hugged her. Don't worry Rin-chan, we're gonna be just fine. Jiraiya was chuckling. So, we're gonna have kids the same age. Kind of funny when you think about it. Gotta say though, didn't know Obito would actually be willing. Always seemed too shy to do something like this. Rin and Obito looked at their feet and blushed. Kushina still wasn't exactly happy, but knew that nothing could be done at this point. We've got 9 months, that'll make you guys parents at 16. For a ninja, that actually isn't that bad. We tend to die pretty young. Back in the whirlpool they would actually encourage us to have kids as soon as possible. Minato groaned, as if we all weren't busy enough. Kushina gave her husband a kiss on the cheek. Oh please, we all know you hate it when things get boring. I don't know what you'd do with yourself if you didn't have something to do every day. Minato thought about it, probably visit every ramen stand in the world. They all fell on the floor laughing, seems like that's how almost all of their conversations ended. Tori looked out new members of the Akatsuki from afar, she still didn't want them to know about her just yet. 2 new members were now among them. Kakuzu, the nearly immortal king of bounty hunters who had 5 hearts, and Orochimaru, a man seeking the power of complete immortality. Zetsu came up next to her out of the ground. Hey there, what do you think of the new recruits? Tori didn't seem to care, simply more pawns to bring us closer to peace. Nothing more, nothing less. Zetsu frowned a little bit. I don't know, Kakuzu's kind of fun. As long as you're errant, pissing him off anyway. Tori still wasn't showing much emotion, maybe, but as long as they get their job done I don't really care how fun they are. Zetsu could see he wasn't getting anywhere with her, so he decided to change the subject. So, how come you're only letting Pain know the truth about you? Tori looked at Zetsu like he was an idiot. Simple, if they know about me, there's a higher chance that other people will find out about me. I want myself to be kept a complete secret to the world until I absolutely have to come out into the open. Zetsu still didn't quite get it, but chose to leave it alone. So, what are you going to do now? Tori started to walk away. I'm going to the mist. There's a little project there I'd like to complete. Zetsu waved goodbye. Alright then, see you soon. Tori nodded. Yes, see you soon. Keep an eye on Nagato. Him reanimating his old best friend and using him as the leader of the Akatsuki is rather disturbing. The moment we have the chance we need to force him to revive Madara and get rid of him. Zetsu didn't why they were waiting at all. Why don't we just make him revive Madara now? Tori gave him another. Really, you're that ignorant? Look, if we revive Madara now, word will get out. Nothing as big as that could be kept a secret. Once word of it got out, we'd never have the peace and quiet we need to launch this plan. Once Pain has outlived his usefulness, then we and only then do we revive Madara. Zetsu went back into ground. It was best not to question her, if you say so. After just 2 weeks of the big announcement about the babies, another big announcement came out. Kushina was pregnant. Jiraiya's head was spinning. So let me get this straight. 2 weeks after Tsunade and I have out baby, Rin and Obito will have their baby, and 2 weeks after that Kushina and Minato will have their baby. Kushina had to admit, it was a funny situation, yeah, kinda crazy. Minato was still slightly in shock. Wow, we're all gonna be parents. On the bright side, at least we can all try and figure this out together. Obito liked the sound of that. Thank God for that. I don't know if could do this without help. Kushina gave him a small glare. Well, if you two had just waited like I said. Obito was irritated. Can we just drop this? Rin's already sad that this is the only kid she's ever gonna get to have. Kushina did feel a little bad about that. They found out that Rin's body would only be able to have 1 child. She would have to have her tubes tied after because her body wouldn't be able to take another carrying a 2nd child. Another thing that ran in her family. Luckily Rin wasn't able to hear them as she had been in the kitchen getting something to drink. She walked back into the living room. Hey Tsunade-sensei, have you picked out a name for your kid yet? Tsunade shook her head. No, we were thinking maybe Mito after my grandmother, or maybe Hiruzen if it's a boy, you know after sensei. How about you Rin? Obito piped up. Well, we were think Kakashi if it's a boy, you know, to honor his memory, that's who I'm giving Funny Toba's personality. We don't have a girl name yet. Jiraiya looked at Minato, how about you, any choices for names? Minato smiled, well, actually I was thinking if it's a boy we'd name them after one of the characters in your book. Tsunade couldn't believe the words that came out of his mouth, what, which one? Minato raised his hands in defense, don't worry, I'm talking about, the tale of Gutsy Ninja. We were thinking we'd name him Naruto if it's a boy. Kushina giggled, of course, the fact that that's a ramen topping is a bonus for him. Minato pouted, hey, I just happen to think that that's a really good name and really good book. Kushina smirked, I know, I'm just teasing. Tsunade leaned back in her chair, as if we weren't all like one massive family already. Once again, they were laughing. That's really why they stuck together in the end, no matter how crazy things got, they could always make each other laugh. No matter what the situation, they only worried about the others in their life. They just kind of fit together. In just 9 months they would add 3 new people to their family, and lose 2 others. Chapter 17. 9 months passed very slowly for the whole group, the men because of the insanity of the women, and the women because of the symptoms that come with pregnancy. There was the mood swings, for one. Rin went from happy, to angry, back to happy, and then sad in the span of an hour. Kushina had some of the most bizarre cravings any of them had ever seen. She wanted chocolate-covered sushi, it took Minato making a restaurant make it especially for her just to get it. Jiraiya got lucky, as the pregnancy made Tsunade very frisky. Everyone was knocking on their door several times before they risked going in. Yes, the couples were going absolutely insane, praying that the babies would be out soon. They had found out the genders of the babies as well. Tsunade was having a girl, so they were going with Mito after her grandmother. Rin found out she was having a boy, which meant they were going to name him Kakashi in honor of his memory. Finally, Kushina was having a boy, therefore Naruto won out. Tsunade was due in just a few days, which meant things were about to get very interesting. Jiraiya was fast asleep when it happened, giving him little time to react. He just sort of felt Tsunade shaking him, Jiraiya, damn it Jiraiya, get up. Jiraiya slowly opened his eyes, what time is it? Tsunade raised her hand to smack him, that doesn't matter Jiraiya, my water just broke. That got him alert, wait, seriously. This time Tsunade did smack him, of course I'm serious. Now get out of that bed before I grab your balls and pull them up over your head. Jiraiya picked Tsunade up and opened the window, let's move. Jiraiya got the hospital and didn't even bother talking to the receptionist, she's having a baby, don't even try to stop me here. Just get a hold of the Hokage and tell him. There was no way in hell the receptionist was arguing with 2 Sannin, he just ran out to go get the Hokage. Minato was moving as fast as he could, no way he was going to miss the first of the 3 babies being born. Kushina, Obito, and Rin weren't far behind him. They got to the hospital to find Hiruzen already there, laughing at them, little anxious, aren't you? Minato's jaw dropped, how the hell did you get here before us? Hiruzen was standing outside the hospital room, oh, that's easy. I've been messing around at the hospital for the past week. You'd be shocked what you can get away with around here when you pretend you're an insane guy and use a transformation. Minato's jaw dropped further, I thought you were fixing the education system. Hiruzen shrugged, I can't have a hobby. Kushina sighed, first, I want to hear about the things you did at a later date, and 2, have they had the baby yet? Hiruzen grinned, blue eyes, white hair, 6 pounds 2 ounces. She's adorable. Rin squealed, oh, let us in already. Hiruzen opened the door, oh, if you insist. Tsunade held little Mito in her arms, she was crying just a few minutes ago. She already fell in love with the little girl the moment she laid eyes on her, oh, mama's so glad you came out to see her. You're just too cute to stay in my tummy, yes you are. I think daddy wants to see you too. Jiraiya took the small bundle, well yeah, mama hasn't let you hold yet. You got my hair, but I think yours will be straight like your mom's is. I can't believe you're here, daddy didn't think you were ever coming out. Tsunade scowled, neither did I, 9 months of waiting. Although I gotta say, I wasn't in labor very long. I don't even think it was an hour. Jiraiya raised an eyebrow, did you use your medical jutsu to make labor go faster? Tsunade giggled, maybe. If I can, why wouldn't I? Jiraiya couldn't really argue with that, fair enough. Kushina came bursting in, where's the baby and when can I hold her? Shizune, who was there already as she lived with Tsunade and Jiraiya, shook her head, oh no, I get to hold her next. She's basically my little sister. Jiraiya figured he better hand her over, alright Shizune, here you go. Shizune cooed at the baby, oh, how are you? You're just the cutest thing, I could just eat you up. The night went on like that for all of them. Another member had been added to their family, and in just 2 short weeks, they'd have another. Unlike Jiraiya, Obito was eating when he got the news. Nearly choked on his ramen too, you're in labor. What do we do? Rin was already annoyed, we go to the hospital you idiot. Rin didn't enjoy explaining this to her husband, yes her husband. In the past 9 months, the two had gotten married. Not many knew about this yet, only a select few. Of course Minato, Kushina, Jiraiya, Tsunade, and Shizune knew, it'd be nearly impossible to keep it from them after all. They had also told some of her classmates whom they were closer to. Kurenai, Isabi, Guy, Asuma, Genma, and Anko had all attend the wedding. Anko had also vowed to come and see them once the baby was born, they had become very close since her sensei betrayed the village. Slowly but surely, the young snake mistress was becoming a part of their little dysfunctional family. She had turned down their offer to come and live with all of them, but still remained a big part of their lives. Obito grabbed Rin, got moving, sorry, I'm not great under pressure. Rin groaned, if that was true this was gonna be a long day. Minato and Kushina heard the commotion and came running out, is it time? Rin flinched as she had a small contraction, yeah, it's coming. Kushina looked at them, then what the hell are you wait for? Get going, we'll let everybody know. Obito picked up Rin bridal style and got moving, alright, let's do this. Rin had been in labor for 3 hours, Minato, Kushina, Jiraiya, Shizune, and Anko stood outside the door waiting. They were all doing their best to stay calm. Just as Kushina was about to say something, some old man came down the hall completely naked screaming, I like marshmallows. One of the orderlies grabbed him, sorry about him, this guy's been around here the past couple weeks doing this stuff. No one even knows who he is. The old man looked at him, can I go home now? The orderly sighed, no, we don't know where you live. We're going to get dressed and get you some marshmallows. The old man nodded, then gave quick glance to Minato and winked. Jiraiya watched them walk away and looked at Minato, that was sensei in disguise wasn't it? Minato laughed, yeah, should we tell anyone? Jiraiya shot back, hell no, that's the happiest I've seen him in years. If he's finally taking a break to enjoy himself, I say let him. Besides, it's freaking hilarious. Tsunade, who had been delivering the baby, walked out, Kakashi is here. Anko ran in, dibs on holding him first. They all laughed and ran in after here. Obito was on the bed with Rin holding little Kakashi. He had black hair, Obito's eyes, and Rin's face. He looked to be about 7 pounds 1 ounce. Rin was talking to him softly, hello Kakashi, oh you've got daddy's eyes don't you? You're so tiny. Anko and Shizune were jumping up and down, oh, look how cute he is. Rin looked up, alright, who's first? Anko didn't even hesitate, give him to me. Rin couldn't help but laugh at Anko, alright, be careful. Anko cuddled the little baby into her chest, oh, you're just too cute. I'm gonna be your favorite aunt. I'm gonna sneak you candy and let you play with my snakes in. Guy burst into the room, Yosh, where is my youthful friend's new child? Anko turned away like she was protecting Kakashi and Obito turned to Guy, if you try to put him in a green spandex onesie or start tossing him around, I will kick you out. You can hold him when it's your turn. Guy looked down after being scolded, oh, fine. I will contain my youthfulness for the time being. The day continued as everyone, even Guy, got to hold little Kakashi. Baby number 2 had been born. Only Naruto remained. But that birth wouldn't go nearly as smoothly as others had. 2 more weeks passed, causing them to prepare for the big day. Kushina's birth was particularly risking, as she was a Jinchuriku. There had been women Jinchurikus who had given birth before, the most famous of which was Mito Uzumaki Senju. When a female Jinchuriku gave birth, her seal was greatly weakened. They needed to have several good medical ninjas around, some experienced sealers, and some powerful ninjas to handle the Kyuubi if the worst-case scenario were to occur. It was a big event when a Jinchuriku had a child, even more so when it was the Hokage's wife. To be honest though, very few people actually knew about Kushina's pregnancy. It was just safer that they didn't. If an enemy heard about it, who knew what could happen? Minato wasn't letting Kushina out of his sight, which was driving her a little insane. She was eagerly awaiting the birth of her son. The day had finally come. The whole group had gathered in a cave to await the birth of the last new member of their family. Only Jiraiya and Anko weren't present, as both of them were on missions. Kushina had been in labor for the past 4 hours. Tsunade had been doing her best to keep Kushina under control while Minato kept an eye on the seal. So far so good. Minato almost missed the sound of baby crying. Kushina was smiling. Is that him? Minato looked at Tsunade holding the small bundle. Yeah, it is. He's got my hair, but he got your face. Tsunade was about to hand him to Minato when a new voice entered the room. A touching moment. A pity I have to ruin it. They all turned to see some woman with her face covered in bandages standing there. She had the Mangekyo Sharingan spinning in her eyes. Obito screamed at her, "Who are you? How'd you get in here?" The woman stepped forward. "Don't worry about that, I just need to take Kushina for a while." Minato growled, "And what the hell makes you think I'll let you do that?" She laughed. "Oh, I think that you need to be more worried about the explosive tags surrounding the room." They looked around to see all the guards were dead, and indeed explosive tags covered the room. "When did you?" The woman shrugged. "You really need to work on your genjutsu skills. You were so focused on Kushina that you didn't even notice when I placed it on all of you." Minato was furious. "You bitch, I don't have time to get everyone out." The woman made them an offer. "If you give me Kushina, I won't activate all of these tags, killing each and every one of you. Don't be too nervous, I can only activate them within a 5-mile range. You can chase after me once I get out of it." Minato didn't have any other choice. "I'll get you for this." The woman walked over to Kushina and used a pressure point to knock her out. "I'd say you'll see her soon, but I just can't promise that." Minato watched and the woman grabbed Kushina and ran out of the cave. He didn't know what she was after, but he knew that it couldn't be good. Chapter 18. Minato was moving at a speed he had never gone in his life. He had Naruto back home with the flash seal that he kept there. Kushina was with whoever the hell that woman was, doing who knows what. She must be after the Kyuubi. It didn't take a genius to figure that out. The questions were, how did she know where Kushina was at, what did she want with the Kyuubi, and where was she taking Kushina now? Obito, Rin, and Tsunade weren't far behind him. Obito called up to him, "Sensei, how do you know where you're going?" Minato didn't bother to look back. The Kyuubi has very distinctive chakra. I've been around Kushina long enough that I can actually sense it. I'm just following the trail she left behind. Rin couldn't help but be reminded of stories she'd heard before. This is just like when you saved her from the Cloud Ninja before. Minato just kept moving forward. "Yeah, I guess. I'm not really concerned about what happened before Rin, I'm just worried about what's gonna happen this time." Tsunade couldn't help but feel sorry for him. "It'll be okay, I'm sure she'll be just fine." Minato frowned. "Usually I'd say you're right, but something just doesn't seem right this time. I've got a bad feeling about this." Kushina found herself tied to a massive boulder, her shirt torn so that it showed her abdomen. She looked around. The woman whose face was wrapped in bandages was standing nearby, looking out at the village before her. Kushina growled at the woman, "What do you think releasing the Kyuubi will accomplish? Even if I die, they'll just seal inside of someone else and the leaf's the strongest it's been in years. If you're from another village, this isn't going to do you any good." The woman sighed. "I'm not trying to hurt the leaf, I'm simply trying to acquire the Kyuubi. Even if I fail to accomplish this, at least I will be taking out several powerful ninjas as a consolation prize." Kushina raised an eyebrow. "So where are you from? The cloud, is that why you're trying to get the Kyuubi?" She turned to Kushina. "Please, I'm affiliated with no village. I seek the Kyuubi for my own reasons. With its assistance, I will bring peace to this cursed world. You should be willing to help me, you saw the pain of war firsthand. You watched the whirlpool be destroyed in one cruel blow." Kushina scowled. "What I saw was horrible, but killing more people won't do anyone any good. We need to try and find peace by making friends with our enemies, by trying to find some kind of common ground. The woman put her hand on Kushina's stomach, foolish words from an idealist heart. Goodbye Kushina, may you find peace in the afterlife. Kushina started to scream as felt her seal weakening. Things only seemed to be getting worse. Minato was nearing Kushina's location, he heard the scream all the way through the forest. Though the others didn't know it was possible, Minato started to go even faster. He found a river and saw Kushina tied to a nearby boulder. She was screaming and red chakra was flowing out of her like a tidal wave. The woman with the bandages on her face was standing next to her, hand pressed to Kushina's stomach. Minato threw one of his kunai at her, get away from her you bitch. No, that wasn't an alien's reference. The woman was suddenly protected by what looked like a giant light blue rib cage. The kunai just bounced off of it, much to everyone's surprise. Rin turned to Obito, can you do that? Obito wasn't sure, maybe. The woman chuckled darkly, he has no idea the full capability of the Mangekyo Sharingan. If you haven't even discovered the Susanoo yet, your age is behind me. Minato was tired of that laugh of hers, I don't care what kind of powers you have, I'm gonna kick the shit out of you for hurting my wife. The woman lowered her hand from Kushina's stomach, now, the pain's almost over with. Now it's time to play with the fox. Kushina let out one more ear-piercing scream and the seal broke. The Kyuubi released itself in all of its glory. Kushina collapsed and Minato ran over to her, you guys hold off the Kyuubi. I'll be back in just a second, I'm taking Kushina back to be with Naruto. They all nodded and Minato flashed away. This was going to be one hell of a fight. Page break. Kushina woke up lying next to Naruto. Minato was putting his Hokage's coat on, sweetie, what happened? Is everyone alright? Minato shook his head, probably not. The Kyuubi's making his way to the leaf as we speak. I'll be right back sweetie, I've got to go take care of this. Kushina was crying, Minato-kun, what are you gonna do? No one can kill the Kyuubi. Minato sighed, I'll have to restrain it and seal it inside of someone. I think it'll have to be Naruto. Kushina was shocked, but Minato-kun, you can't. There's gotta be another way. Minato got ready to flash back, no, there isn't. You know it has to be a newborn and you know what I have to do to seal it away. Kushina couldn't believe this, you mean you're going to use the Reaper Death Seal? Minato gave her sad nod and flashed away, leaving Kushina only Naruto to cuddle in comfort. The Kyuubi was giving the Leaf Shinobi all they could handle. He had gotten close the village, but hadn't actually entered it yet. That's not to say he wasn't doing damage to it, no he was doing plenty of that. It definitely wasn't good, but it would have been considerably worse as Tsunade hadn't been there. She had used her super strength to keep the Kyuubi out of the leaf, something that was a major lifesaver. Literally, the Kyuubi not actually being able to get into the village had cut down the damage and lives lost by at least half. A giant rumble was heard, and Minato appeared riding Gamabunta, the boss of the Toad contract. Minato looked down at him, sorry to call you like this, but my son's life's on the line. I need you to help these guys force back the Kyuubi while go find whoever the woman that caused this. Gamabunta groaned, damn it Gaki. You're gonna owe me for this one. Minato gave a soft laugh, afraid not old friend. This is the last time you and I will be fighting together. I'm gonna have to seal the big fox here after all. Gamabunta suddenly understood just how serious this was, I'm sorry to hear that. You're the only one so far I've actually liked. It's been an honor Minato. Minato was surprised, Gamabunta had never called him by his name before, same to you Gamabunta. My only regret is not being able to see Naruto grow up. Gamabunta looked up at him, really, you name your son after a ramen topping. Minato decided to let it be, yeah, let's go with that. Wish me luck. Gamabunta looked over at the fox and unsheathed his sword, alright you overgrown plushie, let's do this. It didn't take long for Minato to find the woman, she had been watching all of it unfold on a cliff close to the village. When Minato flashed behind her she sighed, it's unfortunate you know, you're the only one I'm not sure I can defeat. Minato ground his teeth, I may not live through tonight, but I'm gonna make sure you don't walk scot-free either. My son, Sensei's daughter, Obito's son, I'm gonna do whatever I can to make this a safer place for them. The woman paused, Obito's son. Minato didn't answer, he just charged at her with a Rasengan in his hand. The woman pulled the 2 needles out of the bun in her hair and activated her Susanoo ribs. The Rasengan hit it and left with cracks all over. The woman jumped back and made one of her needles to make a whip out of her Susanoo with it as the base. Then did the same with the other. She swung one of the whips at him and Minato dodged it. Minato was behind her before she knew it, another Rasengan in his palm which he shoved into her back. Naturally, she had no time to react. She was sent flying. After she was done she sent Minato a threatening glare. Oh, it's on now. The Kyuubi wasn't doing well, they were forcing him back big time. Between Tsunade and the third, not to mention the army behind them, the Kyuubi just couldn't compare. They couldn't help but wonder how Minato was doing with his fight. What they didn't know, they were forcing the Kyuubi right to his location. Obito saw him fighting the woman out of one eye, he was doing fairly well. He could hear her yelling in the distance, if this is the way you want it, fine. You've forced me to release my hold on the Kyuubi so I can escape. She released from her control, causing it to roar horribly. The woman turned and ran off, leaving Minato to help them handle the fox. He turned to the Leaf Ninja, I'll be right back, I've just got to go grab something. He flashed away, silently hoping his son could forgive him for this one day. Minato found Kushina holding on to Naruto for dear life, whispering in his ear, "It's okay Naruto, it'll all be okay." Minato looked at the two of them, trying to take as much of the sight in as possible. This would be the only time he could see it after all. Kushina-chan, it's time. Kushina stood up, still holding tightly to Naruto. I'm so sorry Naruto. I never wanted this for you. Minato grabbed his son, I think you should stay here. Kushina wasn't having it, no, I need to be there for Naruto when you. Minato couldn't stand to hear it, fine, but just stay out of the line of fire. He grabbed a hold of his wife and used his yellow flash. The time had finally come. Minato got back to find the Kyuubi pinned down by Gamabunta, Sarutobi, Tsunade and several other Leaf Ninja. Though he was struggling, it was clear he wasn't going anywhere. Minato, still holding on to Naruto, walked over the Kyuubi. He sat Naruto on the ground and raised his hands to start making the necessary seals. The Kyuubi gave one last thrash, sending his claw through Minato just inches from Naruto's face. Minato couldn't believe his body alone was able to stop it. He soon found that it wasn't. Kushina had jumped in front of Naruto, just barely keeping the claw from hitting him. Kushina looked at Minato and gave him a sad smile. Sorry, guess I just couldn't let you make this sacrifice by yourself. Minato raised his hands again and made the seals. Before long he could feel the seal working inside him. I'm sealing the yin half of the chakra inside myself. It's safer for Naruto that way. Kushina gave one last look at her son. It'll be okay sweetie, you'll have our friends here for you. You'll have your family to take care of you. Just don't take too much after Jiraiya. Minato laughed for the last time in his life. As the sealing finished, the Kyuubi vanished into the young Naruto. The two of them collapsed on the ground. The village was safe, but it cost them their most powerful ninja. All of the ninjas looked at the third for guidance, no one was sure what to do at this point. Chapter 19. Jiraiya now knew exactly what his student went through when Kakashi had told him and Anko the whole story when they got back from their missions. It just didn't seem possible. Minato was dead, Kushina too. The Kyuubi sealed inside their poor son. He wasn't even sure how to react to all of this. Finally he said, so, what exactly is gonna happen with Naruto? I know we're all gonna take care of him, but what about the Kyuubi and the council? Not to mention whether or not we should tell people who his parents are. Obito didn't understand that last part, why wouldn't we tell people he's Sensei's son? Jiraiya was honestly surprised he had to explain this, it seemed pretty obvious to him. Minato had a lot of enemies, if they find out about Naruto it could put him at risk. Especially from the Hidden Rock. Obito wasn't accepting that for a second. Naruto deserved to have his real last name, then they'll have to go through us. Naruto's gonna have a lot of hate coming down on him because of what he holds. If people know he's the son of the fourth Hokage that could take a lot of the burden off of him. Tsunade had to admit, that made a lot of sense, kid's got a point. It's not like he's not surrounded by powerful ninja. I'd like to see someone get through all of us. It just wouldn't be worth it, even the Rock would know that. Rin was quick to defend him too. Yeah, and as for the council, we've got the third on our side plus 2 of the legendary Sannin. They won't have a choice but to let him stay with us. Jiraiya winced slightly at hearing about his sensei be forced back into his old position. He knew the old didn't want to be Hokage again, but he also knew he wouldn't let anyone else do it at a time as sensitive as this. The next order of business was the living arguments. Tsunade already had that figured out in her head. I want all of us to move into the Senju estates. It'll make everything easier, especially on Naruto, if we're all in the same place. You too, Anko, we couldn't convince you before, but I'm not taking no for an answer this time. Anko shrugged. That's fine, my apartment building was one of the few places that got destroyed anyways. Sarutobi knocked on the door and walked into the room. The council's ready. Let's get this over with. Do you all have everything figured out for this little guy? Naruto gave a small cry and Tsunade picked him up. Jiraiya was holding Mito and Rin was holding Kakashi. They turned to him and said, yeah, we know exactly what we're going to do. Sarutobi nodded and started to walk out of the room. Obito leaned over to him and said, you can still screw with people at the hospital with shadow clones. Sarutobi laughed, oh, I intend to. Zetsu hadn't seen Tori this quite in long time. Usually she at least had orders of some kind for him. He wasn't sure whether he should press the issue or not. In the end, he decided to go up and see what was wrong. Something up, Tori, you seem kind of out of it. Tori didn't look at him. Obito has son. Zetsu nodded, yeah, what's it matter? It's just another person to be with you in the infinite Tsukuyomi. Tori shook herself back into reality. Right, sorry about that. Just in a little bit of shock after hearing that. Zetsu was glad she wasn't going soft on them. Alright then, I'm heading back to base. The new guys, Kisame and Sasori, were eager to get started. Tori watched as he left, a small part of her still wondering about her new grandson. The council wasn't sure if they had just heard was right. One of the civilian councilmen repeated to himself, the fox boy is the son of the 4th Hokage. Tsunade ground her teeth, don't call him fox boy. The council seemed to torn at the news. Half of them seemed to hate the boy, despite the fact that nothing that had happened was his fault, and the other half seemed eager at idea of the 4th Hokage having a son. Danzo just saw it as a chance to obtain himself a new weapon. He turned to all of the council, I believe that I have a solution that would please everyone. Allow me to train the young boy and turn him into the ultimate weapon for the leaf by teaching how to control the fox's chakra. If you allow me to do this, then it would settle the nerves about the boy losing control. Jiraiya sent a wave of killer intent at the old war hawk. No, I'll be training Naruto in the art of toad summoning and will be helping him control the Kyuubi's chakra. Tsunade already said she wanted Mito to be a slug summoner anyway. Sarutobi couldn't see how anyone could argue with Jiraiya. I agree with my old student, it would only make sense for him to be trained by his father's sensei. Now, I think that all of us should go home and get some rest. It has been a long day and we've discussed everything we needed to. Good night everyone. The council didn't quite agree that everything was settled, but decided not to argue. Everyone started to leave and Anko ran up to Rin and Obito. Mito's gonna be a slug summoner and Naruto's gonna summon the toads. That means I can teach Kakashi how to summon snakes, right? Rin and Obito weren't sure. Rin looked at her, I know Anko. Anko gave them the puppy dog eyes and pouted cutely, please. Rin looked at Obito who laughed and nodded, alright Anko, Kakashi can summon snakes. They left the council room with Anko bouncing up and down in victory. Danzo was beyond angry, beyond furious, he wasn't sure you could even gauge how angry he was. Sarutobi, that damn fool, had cost him yet another weapon. Thanks to his students taking the Jinchuriku in, there was no way he could possibly take control of him. He'd already lost Orochimaru, whom he was counting on to become Hokage, and now he couldn't have the fox brat either. He used his good hand to smash his desk, son of bitch. This wasn't over. One of these days he would see to it that the hidden leaf could crush all. Oh, you could count on that. No one, not even his old rival, would stand in his way. The Senju estates overwent a massive overhaul. All of main bedrooms stayed on the ground floor, as they had the kids' nursery there and none of them wanted to be too far from it. The nursery was the second biggest room in the house, as all 3 of the kids were sleeping in it. Naruto's crib was red with little toads on it. Jiraiya had also had a carving of place on one of legs of the crib, much to the others' confusion. The way Jiraiya saw it, he was stuck with the fox, might as well embrace it. Mito's crib was white with Senju clan symbol on it, along with a few slugs. Tsunade absolutely loved that her little girl was going to be slug summoner, just like her. Now the only thing she needed to do was see if she wanted to be a med nin when she got old enough. Kakashi's crib was blue, however was devoid of the Uchiha clan symbol. Naturally, Obito intended for his son to get a very different upbringing than he had. Enko made sure the crib wasn't boring though, as she personally craved all the legs to look like snakes. She was very excited to have someone other than her summoning snakes, it might bring some of the honor Orochimaru took from them back. Tsunade and Jiraiya had taken the master bedroom, while Obito and Rin had taken a slightly smaller one near the nursery. Enko took the bedroom near the kitchen, according to her she was a midnight snacker and this made it easier. Overall, the family was quite comfortable with their new arrangements. Although, all of them had a lot to do. A new threat had emerged, and their training was going to be going non-stop, or whenever the babies were fed and happy anyways. Obito had been studying his Sharingan more than he ever had before. After seeing what that woman could do with hers, it was pretty clear he'd only scratched the tip of the iceberg. He started by trying to reverse engineer the jutsu, to which he had no success. Next, he looked for every piece of information he could get on the Susanoo, which there wasn't any. Finally, he just started to mess around with his Mangekyo Sharingan until something happened, which it actually did. However, it wasn't the Susanoo. Obito was focusing on one of his targets, and focusing hard. He was trying to use the Amaterasu to its full power and see if it would change what would happen. However, without realizing it, he focused to the point that it actually started to phase, was that the right word? The object got blurry and before he knew it, the object was just gone. Absorbed by some kind of vortex he guessed. He wasn't sure what the hell he'd just done, but he knew this was gonna need some more exploration. Well, now wasn't the time, he was out of chakra. Obito gathered his things and went home. The village had a strange reaction to little Naruto being born. Although most of them welcomed him because he was the son of the fourth Hokage and they had faith in his sealing abilities, there was still a large group of people who wanted Naruto to be killed so that the fox couldn't be released again. They had actually gotten flowers and death threats in the same day. It was nothing to be really concerned about, after all several of the Leaf's strongest ninjas were protecting him. There were already a few small threats from the Rock, but just as they had predicted, the Rock just wasn't ready to go into another war, especially over one child who had the Hokage and the legendary Sannin watching for them. Naruto was truly safe for the time being. The boy had one hell of future ahead of him, and more than enough people to help him get here. Things were looking well for the Leaf, the new generation was here. All of the main clans had their heirs now, the Hyugas, the Inuzukas, the Akamichis, all of them. Yes, things were looking great for the Leaf indeed. Chapter 20. Obito was studying his new jutsu with extreme intensity. It was called the Kaumi, and the more he learned about it the crazier it seemed. He found out that this jutsu transported things into a pocket dimension, a pretty useful little trick. Soon, he discovered that he could use it to make untouchable for short amount of time. The longest he had been able to keep himself invulnerable so far was 2 minutes. He may not be able to use the Susanoo, but this might actually be better. With this new jutsu, there was almost no one who could manage to touch him. Obito was quickly becoming one of the Leaf's greatest assets. That was something he was very proud of, and he was going to make sure that he did as much as he could with it. Tsunade thanked God she was a ninja and was already used to all-nighters. As much as she loved Mito, that little girl seemed to hate sleep. Rin had similar feelings with Kakashi, although they would usually fall asleep if you just walked around with them. They would take turns with Naruto, but to be honest he was the most easygoing baby of the three. It was pretty rare they actually needed to put him back to sleep. By far the babies were the most fun when they had first woken up in the morning. They would smile and giggle, sometimes they would blow little bubbles with their mouths too. Yeah, they adorable in the morning. They had to move around their schedules a little bit so that they could have at least 2 people with the babies at all times. Even Anko volunteered to help out when she could. Jiraiya had given up on writing Ika Ika, couldn't really keep doing that now that he was a dad, especially with a little girl. He did however continue with his spy network, although he wasn't gone nearly as much now. Tsunade was still working as the head of the hospital, part-time at least. She had Rin and Shizune helping her as she had taught them everything they needed to know about running the hospital. They would take shifts of running the hospital and whoever wasn't would stay home and help with kids. Obito and Anko were both going on missions and training quite a lot, but still made sure that they had time with the kids. Obito didn't go on as many missions as Anko did, mainly because he wanted to be with Kakashi and Naruto as much as possible, so he spent more time just training and going home at the end of the day. The schedules had changed quite a bit, but the only one whose rank changed was Anko, who was made Jonin. Jiraiya and Tsunade had been teaching her how to use her summonings more effectively, primarily how to use the snake summoning contract without having to give sacrifices to the more powerful snakes. With Jiraiya's help, they modified her technique so that she only summoned the right snakes. They found that some snakes didn't exactly agree with Manda's, the boss summons, line of out. Manda wasn't well liked even by his own followers. She had even found a few very powerful snakes that didn't ask for anything but loyalty. The best part was, now Kakashi could sign the contract risk-free. Anko was definitely on the way to bringing honor back to the snakes, and she wasn't gonna stop until she did. Tori was getting a little impatient. They had yet to acquire even one-tailed beast, mostly because they needed to lay low because of the Hidden Leaf incident. The only thing Tori had accomplished so far was taking control of the Hidden Mist. Their Mizukage was a Jinjuriku, meaning Tori could control him with her Mangekyo Sharingan. Having control over an entire hidden village was very beneficial, as it let her keep an ear to the ground at what the other villages might be up to. Not to mention she could now extract the three-tailed turtle at any time. You can't kill a tailed beast, so even after it was destroyed when Hitaki was killed, it reformed about 2 years later. The hidden mist sealed inside a young boy known as Yuguru. Yuguru was now her personal puppet, and with him Seawood Mist right under her thumb. She may not be close to having all of the tailed beasts, but at least she had gotten the ball rolling. Things were only going to get better for the Akatsuki from here. Sarutobi was not happy to be back into the Hokage's chair. He considered asking one of his students to be the new Hokage, but with his student having children it just didn't seem right to ask them to do that. It wasn't a good idea to try to raise children when you're the Hokage, he knew that better than anyone. Asuma grew up with resentment towards his father. Granted, he still loved his father and knew he was a good man, but that didn't change the fact that he often felt his father cared more about the village than his own son. Still, there was nothing he could do about that now. His village needed him, and there was no way in hell he was going to leave it in the hands of Danzo. When the time came, he would find a way to make it up to his son. Until then, he would do what he could for his village. He had been entrusted with a great task, and he wasn't going to let anyone down. Before long it was time for their first birthdays. They decided to have the party on Kakashi's birthday as it was right in between the other two. Most of the clan heads came with their kids, as it was the party for 2 major clan children and the son of the 4th Hokage. Although Obito still wasn't calling himself or his son an Uchiha, the clan heads still considered them one. Some were even calling the two, the true Uchihas. The first to arrive was Sume, head of the Inuzuka clan and one-time teammate of Minato. It's my fanfic, so I say they were teammates. Naturally she didn't want to miss the party of her sensei's daughter and teammate's son. She had brought her 5-year-old daughter Hana and her year-old son Kiba. Hana, who had met Jiraiya before, was happy to see him as she thought of him as an uncle. She hadn't really been introduced to his now dormant pervy side. Jiraiya gladly accepted a hug from the young girl. Uncle Jiraiya. Can I hold Mito, please? Jiraiya laughed. Of course you can, she's with Tsunade right now. Go find her. Hana ran off happily and Sume turned to her old sensei. How've you been, you old pervert? Jiraiya rolled his eyes. Sume never was one to show him much respect. Good to see you too, Sume. Is Hiyashi coming as well? Sume smiled at the mentioning of their last teammate. Oh yeah, he's bringing his little girl along too. Real cutie, got blue hair like her mom. Jiraiya couldn't help but find that kinda funny. Blue hair on a clan heir, I don't think I've ever seen that before. Hiyashi walked in at just that moment. Yes, it is rather unusual. It seems little Hinata inherited her mother's looks thankfully. Haruya, I'm naming her mother that because I couldn't find a name for her anywhere so I just went with an H name. Was busy making faces at her daughter, who giggled in delight. Hinata was clearly quite content in her mother's arms. Finally Haruya turned to Jiraiya. Hello Jiraiya, I apologize for my husband and I not visiting you more often, but as you can see we have our own little one to take care of. Jiraiya waved off her apology. No worries, the whole village has been running around like a chicken with its head cut off for the past year. I didn't expect to see you guys a ton. Hiyashi handed Jiraiya a few presents he had been carrying. Still. Sensei, we're glad we could make to the party. It was massive blow to the entire village when we lost Minato. I want to do what I can for his son. Jiraiya set the presents in the pile and motioned for them to follow him. Come on, it's time you guys were properly introduced to Naruto. Hiyashi and Tsume followed Jiraiya to the nursery where Naruto was sleeping peacefully. Tsume handed Kiba to Jiraiya and walked up and picked him up. Hi there, I'm Tsume. Oh, you're cute little pup, aren't you? Hiyashi looked at the whiskers, then at his sensei, so Minato really sealed the Kyuubi inside of him. How are you going to deal with it? Jiraiya sighed. There's no sense in hiding it from him. I'm going to tell him about and try to teach him how to control its chakra and use it to make him stronger. We've already got some angry villagers after him though. Hiyashi nodded. The Hyuga clan will support the boy with the everything we've got. Tsume handed Naruto off to Hisashi. Same here, anyone comes after that kids, they'll have me to answer to. Jiraiya pitted the man who brought Tsume's wrath down on him. Hana came running in holding Mito. Look mom, she's so cute. She doesn't cry when hold her either. Tsume smiled at her daughter. Yup, good job. Who's all here now? Hana thought for a second. The bug ninjas. Tsume always loved when she said stuff like that, but she still had to correct her, the Abarame's sweetie. Hana nodded. Yeah, them. Plus the Nara guys and those Yaka Mya. Tsume couldn't help but laugh. Yamanakas. Hana nodded again, and the Akamichis. I thinks that's everyone. Jiraiya handed Kiba back to Tsume and grabbed Naruto from Hiyashi. Well, let's get out there. Time to go greet everybody. The party continued on without much incident. They gave the cake and ice cream to Kid, who absolutely devoured it. Next they opened the presents, which had some interesting things inside. Some highlights included a special medicine made from insect venom that was good for helping with the pain that came along with teething from the Abarames. 3 large handmade stuffed animals from the Hyugas, a toad for Naruto, a slug for Mito, and a snake for Kakashi, as they already knew those would be their summoning animals. Also the Inuzukas gave them special canine fangs from previous Inuzuka dogs on necklace, a very high honor. Several more gifts were given that day, but those were the really interesting ones. It had been an interesting year, who knew what would follow in the next one. Actually the next year was more or less the exactly same, with a few new things happening. The kids said their first words, Mito said mama, and as did Kakashi. Naruto's first word, strangely enough, was ramen, go figure. They also took their first steps. Other than that though, it was pretty normal year.